We have weird information surrounding like vitamins and stuff. I think that we think that when we take like more vitamins, it's going to like result in something more.
Yeah.
And it could just be just covering your bases, which is nice.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any reason to eat like a ton of organs. I don't think there's a reason to like go after eating like a pound or anything like that. And especially when you consider how the fat soluble vitamins absorb in the body, you don't even really need them every day. They're in the system.
Yeah, they're in there.
Yeah, they're in the system for a while. So if you get stuff like that occasionally, I think it could be great. But I don't think you need to like really sweat it and worry about how much you get all the time.
I think a good chunk of what the amount of passion behind the nutritional conversation, which is why I pretty much just stay out of it, like on my social media and such. I ask quote unquote experts their perspective, but sometimes I'll have a vegan expert on, and sometimes I'll have a carnivore expert on, and sometimes I'll have a whatever on, and they all have diametrically opposed opinions, and they all have their research, and they all have their experts, and they all have everybody's a doctor. So I'm like, I don't know what to think. So, so for me, I'm more just like, okay, what's working for me now? If you want to ask, I'll tell you, but I don't really care to like pour what I'm doing down anybody's throat
and say, this is the thing you should be doing. This is the thing. This is the best thing ever.
I can say, this is what is presently working to the best of my knowledge now. But, I've known Paul Saladino for years. And I had him on my podcast the first time, probably 5 years ago or something like that. And that time he was like full on religious about, you can only eat meat, bro.
Yeah.
Like everything else is a problem, and during that time in our conversation, I was like, dude, this doesn't make sense. Like if you live in Hawaii, you're probably going to eat a papaya. You're not gonna be like, no, like keep it away. Like this doesn't make sense.
It tastes way too good.
Yeah, like it just like, what are you, like a mango? Like it's on the ground. It smells delicious.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you talking about? But like there's all the science and all the data, and this is what's going on. And then nothing against Paul, I love Paul, but just in general, this is what happens.
Yes.
So this is like a microcosm of what happens in the macro. He's like, 3 years later, it's like, oh, by the way, like everything I said, like, yes, but like, before I was like, fruit is a maybe. Now I'm like, fruit is actually awesome. So now like, look at all of my fruit. Look how colorful the background is now. Like this is it. And then it's like, oh, by the way, like white rice, not that bad. It's actually having the kernel on the outside that's the problem. So that's where like the lectins and all the different things are. And there's a reason that for thousands of years, the world has pretty much run on white rice. Like there's some wisdom in that of like, we've done this for a very long time. Maybe there's something to it. And my suspicion is next is going to be probably an opening up into, vegetable foods and things like that. But the conversation would be around preparation. So that gets into kind of like the Stephen Gundry
stuff.
Yeah. So that gets into kind of like the Stephen Gundry type perspectives, which again, I don't think many people have. It's just their perspective. It's lots of perspectives that people popularize. But it's been like, cool, like you can eat that, but pressure cook it. You can eat that, but ferment it. You can eat that, but there's methods that will actually kind of cook out some of those perceivable toxins that would cause you issues. But there's ways to get around that. Like you wouldn't eat a sweet potato raw; it would jack you up.
Yeah.
But there's ways to cook it, and suddenly it works out. So my feeling is that arc, the nutritional arc, it's ever changing, and mostly what's happening there are people are either trying to just confirm their own bias, which is that's a thing, but also just trying to create community. Like that's the thing that for sure, like everything aside, eat white rice or fish or pickles or whatever. You want to have a team, and you want to have people. And so if we become team carnivore, it makes me feel like I have this in-group type experience, which is very nutritious. So now I have my in-group, and I'm playing. It's just theater.
Power Project family, how's it going? Now we talk about sleep all the time on the podcast because it's one of the biggest things that helps you with your health and fitness, your recovery, your muscle gain, your fat loss, everything. That's why we partnered with 8 Sleep for such a long time now, because the technology behind the mattress allows you to track your heart rate, the amount of times it takes you to fall asleep, your tosses and turns, your heart rate variability. It changes its temperature through the night based off how you sleep, but not only yourself, but maybe your partner on the other side of the bed. It is an amazing mattress. Andrew, how can they learn more?
Yes, head over to 8sleep.com/power project. That's 8 spelled out, EIGHT, sleep.com/power project. Along with more information, you guys will actually save $150 off of your entire order automatically. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
It's also nice to feel that you figured it out.
Oh yeah, dude.
You know what I mean? And like, oh, I have this, and that's not good. It's good to feel that way.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I mean, I think there's
Even
one
if it's an
thing-
illusion.
Even if it could be an illusion, but there's one thing that we've learned with all the different people we've brought on. There's a lot of ways to do this thing. There's a lot of ways to do this thing in a beneficial manner. It's like you don't need to stamp yourself down to trying this one diet and sticking there for the rest of your life. You can allow yourself to try a few different things and see how you respond, and see if for some reason eating bok choy gives you an autoimmune response. Okay, don't eat any, or don't eat as much bok choy. Just try some shit out and see how you handle it.
And then within that, it's like the way to actually know what the hell is going on is you have to be willing to observe, and you have to be willing to listen.
Yeah.
And if you're living in a world where, like me, like I'm not above any of this. I'm addicted to my cell phone. I'm addicted to all sorts of stuff. That where it's like, cool, you're eating and you're listening to a podcast and you're listening to music and you're checking your notifications on this platform and that platform, and then you're going to write an email while you're eating. Like, you don't know what the hell's going on. So how do you expect to gather any data?
Yeah.
As like a scientist of your N of one experience, like you're not paying attention. And then you're waiting for someone else to tell you what to do. Like, what the hell?
It reminds me of on an episode of Seinfeld, George Costanza tried to eat a pastrami sandwich while having sex.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't work out the way that he wanted. It's like pastrami sandwich, his favorite thing. And he's like, if I can line these two things up, and he's like reaching over and trying to like eat this
Yeah,
sandwich.
because he was in the kitchen. I remember that. He almost got it to work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Trying to figure
bizarre.
out how that would.
Mixing too many good things at one time.
Hey, I know you guys enjoyed the video, so like, comment, subscribe, and head to the Power Project Discord below. Talk to y'all later.